AirVenture is definitely a good place to shop for a tug, but why would you need one for a Cessna 150? Well, there's plenty of reasons, actually, because in a few months, this ramp here in central Connecticut is going to be covered in snow and ice. Moving an 1,100-pound airplane, especially into a tight T-hangar, isn't exactly easy, especially if you don't want to crunch it or break your body. And it's not practical for everybody to have a professional FBO tug, and that leaves a lively market for compact electric hangar tugs. And when we did a market scan in the April 2024 issue of Electric Tugs, one brand that was a standout was the Best Tugs. In particular, it was the Alpha 2 series. My friend Manu Ramesh here has got an Alpha 2. She's been using it for her pretty nice looking Cessna 150. In and out of this tight T-hangar, and let's see how it's been going.
Getting the plane out of the hangar is not a big issue. It was to actually put it back into the hangar. To maneuver a plane into a tight spot was a bit of a challenge. The other challenge I faced was that there was a bit of a ramp, a lip at the ramp, so the entryway to the hangar was not really nice and smooth. So I faced a big challenge trying to push the plane into the hangar. So having a little bit of power would have helped in that instance. And the second thing is to make sure that it fits in the exact spot that we need it to. This particular hangar shared by another plane as well. So to make sure that we don't have any other incidents or accidents or anything inside, I wanted to make sure there is a tug. And sometimes I physically didn't have the power to maneuver it up a slope as well. So given the fact that we will have ice and snow later in Connecticut as well, all of this led me to look at electric tugs. Read through different Aviation Consumer articles as well. They did a really good job of doing a market study and a market research on all the types of tugs, the electric tugs and the non-electric versions as well. So did my research on that and settled on a few companies that I wanted to try out. I did call up all the companies to make sure that I talked to the actual company owner, the sales rep, and talked to them about the pros and cons of every tug. And I also tried out a couple of tugs. My friends out here tried out a few different models, and I finally settled on the Best Tugs, the Alpha 2 version. One of the reasons that the Alpha 2 version worked out well for me is that I do not have wheel pants on my plane today, but I do have wheel pants that I'm planning to put on later. So the tug should work with both the wheel pants and without wheel pants, and this was one of those. And also this was the only tug in the market that I didn't have to physically adjust, lift and adjust when I'm trying to maneuver my plane around, because of the pivot plate in the Alpha 2 model. I can show you the pivoting action. Because of this pivoting action, I wouldn't have to physically lift the tug, and I would just be maneuvering it with my handle, and that was very attractive. I definitely don't want to overstress or overdo my capabilities by lifting a heavy tug while pulling along a 150. So settled on the Alpha 2. Not many people use a tug for the Cessna 150, but this is going to be my starter plane, and I wanted to work for other planes as well, so this was a very good choice for me.
The Alpha series is the company's smaller line of dragger-style tugs and compatible with both tailwheel and tricycle gear airplanes. The model Alpha 2 is spec'd to move models up to 2,600 pounds and 3,600 pounds for the Alpha 3. They're software programmed and have variable throttle speed and a wide model compatibility, most Cessna, Piper, Moody, Singles, and Cirrus models as well.
Yeah, for the Best Tugs to work right, we need to make sure that the connecting arms and these adapters are appropriately positioned. So I purchased the adapters for the Cessna 150, which also I believe works for a few other models, but getting these adapters positioned right is really important. There are adjustments even for the adapters. You can now lift this out here, well, not right now because the tug's on the plane, but there are these holes that can be used to position the adapters in and out depending on how close or far apart your peg holes are, your tug holes are. So these are the adapters, and to position them right is really important, otherwise the tug will not work. And at one time we actually ended up missing one of these adapters on the connecting arms, which led to an interesting experiment with the tug. So having both the adapters in place with the correct connecting arms, which do not have a lot of slop in them, would help to actually pull and push this plane a bit easier. So with this pivot plate, we can move the tug around in different directions. And the interesting thing is the connecting arms, which are attached, of course, to the pivot plate, move with the plate, which helps you pull and push the tug in any direction that you want to. There's a little bit of a learning curve to use this particular attachment, especially if you're not used to moving around tractor trailers or anything like that, right? So that is still a learning experience. So I would highly recommend that this tug be tried in an area where you're not likely to run into something. Definitely not in a closed T-hanger environment. It does, at least for me, take some getting used to. So that's still a learning experience that I have not yet mastered, and I'm hoping to get the hang of it pretty soon. So the attaching the tug is a little interesting, because the tug is supposed to be positioned about 3 inches or so to the right, which is not intuitive. Then position the connecting arm and one of the plates, which again takes some practice. There. So once you get the right hand side positioned, the lever out here helps with getting the other arm closed around the tug hole. Now this is the process that I wish was a bit easier, because it is not very smooth, and I can still see a little bit of a gap in the actual connection points. And this gap goes away if you jiggle the plane, jiggle the tug a little bit. And frankly, one of the reasons I bought the tug was that I did not want to jiggle it around. So that's the one thing that I wish was a little more smoother. But once it is attached out here, the process of actually using the tug is fairly simple. At least getting it out of the hanger is fairly easy. Just bear down a little bit on the lever arm and push it out. There. And did you notice actually it popped out a bit there? So the connecting arm, the adapter, has a habit of popping out at times, and that is disconcerting. So getting it out of the hanger is fairly easy. But as you can see, sometimes the connecting points do tend to wander off of the peg, and that is something that I wish did not happen. So this is where the learning experience comes in when you're trying to maneuver the tug one way or the other. And this is one of the things that happens when you're not noticing. A couple of times the connecting arms of the tug did touch the tire quite a bit. So if you're not careful or if you're not experienced, you can see that the gap becomes really close, and at times it actually even rubs against the tire there. And this is again a learning experience for me, because I have to figure out how to turn it right and left a little bit better.
So as another test point, we tried this Alpha 2 on a Cessna 172. It's a 1965 G model Skyhawk, and the adapters for the arms apparently are the same for the 150 as they are for the 172. And what we found is it's a tighter fit on this 172, or on the 150 got a little bit of play in those adapters, but it was pretty tight on the 172. Again, you got to try it before you buy it. Go for it.
Yeah, the controls are rather simple. Looks very well made, very ergonomical, left-handed or right-handed. So I really like the fact that it's really simple to move around with the rocker switches out here. The fact that it actually has a very good display of the battery indicator. The battery indicator talks about the battery life. So far the battery has lasted a good long while in all of my trials as well, so that's pretty good. Very easy to charge this. Just plug the other end of the battery into the outlet out there, and out here there's a very simple mechanism to plug it into. You have this little contraption that you attach it out here, and you know it is attached by the click out that you can hear out there. So very well made, very simple, intuitive and easy to use from the controls and the quality perspective.
So overall, I think the takeaway is that this Alpha 2 Smart Tug's a pretty good value. It's made well, it's got a good control feature set. There's a learning curve to precisely move this thing in and out of a T hanger, but overall I think anybody can master it. What's this thing cost?
An expensive piece of equipment, so it cost about $2,000 to actually buy the Tug, and then you have shipping included, of course, depending on where you live. So it was an expensive gadget, but the assumption is that it's going to last my lifetime, and it'll be used to move various planes around with different adapters. So good value, but expensive.
And I think the takeaway for any Tug is to get a good demo to begin with, and you really got to use it in the environment that you plan to use it in. And that may mean returning it within the return policy, and that could mean having to pay some shipping charges. But again, you got to try it before you buy it. And for Aviation Consumer, I'm Larry Anglisano. Thanks for watching, and thanks a lot to Manu Ramesh for a really good demo and helping with this report.
Thank you, Larry.